One of the most common goals for traders is to get funded and to continue to scale the funding, the capital they trade to make more and more money. Now, one of the biggest hurdles in order to get funded and then to be able to sustain and scale that funding and hold on to it and actually get payouts from it is the psychology. Because a lot of traders who go for funding, they trade a very different way on their personal accounts than they do the funded account. And all of a sudden now when they're managing a funded account or in a funding challenge, they're trading different. There's something there in their psychology that accentuates fear or greed and results in them trading slightly differently. So you can have a trader who is very technically sound and they understand technicals, but the moment they take on funding or they are going for a funding challenge, something clicks in their mind and all of a sudden they're trading differently. So in today's lecture, I wanted to give you some answers to that because many years ago, I was faced with the same thing. I had a very good technical strategy, and the moment I picked up funding, and this was before I understood anything about the psychology to the level I do now, and the moment I picked up the funding, something clicked in my mind and I wasn't able to go off and do what I know I needed to do. So in today's trading psychology masterclass, I want to give you an answer to that problem and a solution to that problem. And I want to give you 3 mental models to ensure that you can go off and secure funding and to ensure that you can hold on to your funding and sustain that and scale it and get payouts from it. These 3 mental models are what I've observed some of the best traders have already. And also what I've seen when I've given these mental models to my one-on-one coaching clients or my students in the 12-week program, things change in their trading and they start to be able to have consistent profitability on funded accounts. Now, the big problem we're addressing is this vicious cycle of funding. And what tends to happen is this little psychological cycle that traders get stuck into. And when I was working as a performance coach for a very popular prop firm, I saw that one trader in particular, this one stood out to me. I mean, there are countless examples of this, but one trader in particular failed 50 plus challenges, 50 funding challenges they failed. And what happened was that trader was so addicted to this end fantasy. It wasn't even a goal because it wasn't real. It was a fantasy of them being a funded trader, having all positive, it taking care of all their problems in life. And what happened was they're so addicted to that fantasy that the moment they fail a funding challenge, they disassociate from the pain of failing that funding challenge. And then what they do is to disassociate from that pain of being a failure in the funding challenge, they repolarize the fantasy. And the fantasy gets stronger as the pain gets greater here. And it creates a cycle of trying to disassociate from the pain of failing and trying to seek after that fantasy again to compensate for the failed challenge. And this one trader that I saw in the database, I never got to work with him unfortunately, they failed 50 times. So traders are addicted to a fantasy of being funded, and the moment they lose the funding challenge or the funding account, this causes the trader to disassociate from the pain of that painful experience, and it creates a stronger fantasy to compensate, and now they're stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a vicious cycle. So some of you may resonate with that. Some of you may realize that, you know what, shit, that's exactly what's happening to me. I fail funding challenges and that brings up stuff feeling unworthy, or it brings up deeper stuff from childhood or from previous relationships or from previous jobs. And it makes you face things you don't want to face. And as a result of having that pain logged there, your brain creates the opposite, the fantasy, to compensate for that pain. And you go chase that fantasy again and you get stuck in a cycle where what I really try and help traders do is break that and get process-based and get objective and get rational. And that's the way out of the cycle. Okay, so this is the problem we're addressing today, and I want to give you 3 actionable, high priority mental models you can implement if you already are funded, how to hold on to that, how to scale that, or if you're not funded yet and that's a goal, how to ensure that becomes a reality. Okay, so just be aware of this little vicious cycle and this repeating cycle. There's ways to break out of it, okay? So the first mental model I want to pass on to you is choose your battles wisely. I recently had an interaction with a trader who was questioning their ability to be a good trader because they made 30 or 20 or 30% for the year. And in my mind, that's baffling. I think the industry promotes such a high standard of what results you should have, and all of a sudden the standard of a good trader becomes hitting 10% per month consistently, even though I've never seen a trader be able to do that. No trader's ever verified that, at least. That's the standard apparently. And if you can't hit 10% a month consistently, which I don't even think is real personally, I've maybe had a handful of 10% plus months over the last 7 years of trading. Now, that doesn't mean I'm the best. I'm not trying to say I'm the best trader out there. There are many other traders that are much better than me. But still, I'm yet to see a trader who can sustain and scale and consistently pull more than 10% out the market every month. To me, that's a fantasy. That's something that isn't real. It's just marketed and sensationalism in the industry. So all of a sudden that becomes the standard for whatever reason. And traders now are thinking that if I make 20, 30% a year, there's something wrong with me. Even though if you compare that 20, 30% you put into perspective and you have a look at the best investors out there, Warren Buffett, over his career has probably annualized something like 20, 25% on average. The S&P return, these are the best companies in the world, return on average, let's say conservatively, and being generous here, 10% a year. So to hit 20 to 30% as a trader a year is exceptional if you put it into perspective. But all of a sudden, when you compare it to the marketing and the sensationalism that nobody's really verified, but all of a sudden it becomes the standard, 20% a year is terrible compared to 10% a month in your mind. That's the story you run. So it's really important to choose your battles wisely. And what I mean by this is, if you're making 2 to 4% a month, good on you. That's exceptional. And you should really have confidence in yourself that you're an exceptional trader. If you have stability and you have a reasonable lifestyle around that, and you're maybe taking 10 positions a month or whatever, and you're consistently pulling 2 to 4% out of the market every month, that's exceptional. Now you can scale that. If you have an edge and you have confidence in your edge, you can start to scale that. And maybe on $10,000, 2 to 4% a month isn't all that great. Maybe on $100,000, that's starting to be pretty good money. But when you start to scale that to $1 million plus, 2, 4 million, which is quite accessible nowadays, all of a sudden your 2 to 4% a month is looking pretty damn good, and you're pulling a great income from the market. So put it into perspective. And realize if you're making 2 to 4% a month as a trader, you can scale that and you can build out a fund from that, and you can do really well when you leverage your skill set there. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. What I mean by choose your battles wisely, let's just stick to the dot points. What you can do, if you are making 2 to 4% a month, that's great, recognize that, but don't go for a funding challenge that requires 10% for the month. That's not a battle you're going to win. It just doesn't make any sense, because what's going to happen if you go for a funding challenge now that you have to make 10% of the month, you're not going to make it and you're going to think you're a shitty trader, which is not true. So choose your battles wisely. Go for a funding challenge that has unlimited time or has a smaller target than 10%. Okay, so be realistic with the funding challenges you go for. Now, a lot of the funding companies are getting rid of their time limits now. Now, that doesn't mean that getting funded is going to be easy. That doesn't mean sustaining funding is going to be easy. You have to understand that these companies still have to make money. All these prop firms that are, that are setting these types of targets and that have unlimited time frame, majority of them are running you through a demo account. So that prop firm only makes money if you fail your challenges. So the statistics behind the business have still proven to be profitable. The prop firm is still going to be profitable even without time horizons. So don't think now that there's no time horizon, you can just go in and make money all of a sudden, because the business would have done the math and they would have proved to themselves that statistically most traders are still gambling and that prop firm's still going to make money off failed challenges. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. So please just think that you still need to have your trading plan, you still need to have an edge, you still need to treat trading like a business, you still need to master your trading psychology. Don't think all of a sudden now that there's no time horizon that it's just going to be easy to get. So choose your battles wisely, be wise about these things, okay? Be aware that the marketing, the sensationalism is dangling a carrot in front of your face. That doesn't mean you go for the carrot just yet. It doesn't mean that you sacrifice everything else in your life to go for that carrot. Be objective, be strategic, structure your trading wisely, structure your life wisely, master your trading mindset so that you can sustain your success as a trader. So choose a funding challenge that works for your strategy. Have a look, go and do some research, do some looking around, do some shopping around and find a prop firm that works for you. And hey, sometimes the prop firms may not work for you and you may choose a private investment route. Okay, there are other options out there that you can go and explore. I know some great traders that are doing the private investment. That's how I initially started. So there are many options out there. Choose your battles wisely, be realistic, be structured, be calculated, be strategic. Understand that a prop firm's still a business. They have to make money somehow. And they're betting on the fact that most traders don't have an edge. They're gambling and they're just going to squander those accounts. So don't be one of those traders. Don't be that individual who's failing 50 challenges in a row. Okay, mental model number 2. What's your mental attachment to the funding? It's been brought to my attention recently in one of my coaching sessions that traders are consciously or unconsciously attaching something to the funding. And the reason I know this is the case is because the trader's trading fine on the personal account, but the moment they go for a funded account or they get funded, now all of a sudden they start trading differently. So what's happening here? What's happening in the psychology? Well, there is some attachment that you're associating, there's some association to the funding account that you're infatuated with, okay? And what I mean by this is you can have a funding account there, but you can also attach your self-worth to that funding account. You can attach your recognition to that account. And let's say if you're on social media, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, and your reputation is built around the fact that you're a funded trader, then if you're to lose that funding account, you not only lose the funding account, but you lose the reputation you've associated to that. Or if you attach yourself in your mind, you perceive to lose it. Or if you attach your self-worth to that, now when you perceive to lose the funded account, you, in your mind, lose the self-worth that you've attached to that. And it could be any number of things. It could be anything in the 7 areas of life that you've attached to the funding account. And now all of a sudden when you're trading the funded account, you have this fantasy and infatuation with it. You've got so much on the line unconsciously most of the time because maybe you have your self-worth or your social recognition or social status attached to that. So you have to be aware of this and you have to recognize that every time you go and take a position in the markets on that funded account, you have to be aware of the types of decisions you're making, and you have to be really acutely aware of why you're taking a certain position and what you think you're going to get from it and what you're expecting from it. Because those expectations push you into outcome-based thinking, and when you're in outcome-based thinking in the virtual market in your head, creating all these fantasies and ideas of what you think you're going to get from that position, that's where fear and greed run rampant. Because you now fear losing the positive fantasy or infatuation of it you've attached to the funded account. You fear losing your reputation. You fear losing that self-worth. Or you have greed over it and you want more. And you're using the funded account as a way to get that thing. It's a strategy, okay? So if you're infatuated with a funded account, it will cause you to trade differently. Now, it may not be the infatuation with the funded account necessarily. It may be the fantasies that you've associated to that funded account, the payouts you think you're going to get, the self-worth, the reputation, anything that you've associated to that, okay? And those associations, if you're infatuated with them and you have a fantasy over them, you're going to be run by fear and greed and you're going to trade differently on that funded account. So you have to be aware of what you're attaching to that funded account. You need to be aware of what you psychologically attach to that funded account and what you're infatuated with. You need to be actively aware of your expectations prior to every trade. And what I mean by that is before you this is why I put the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool together. It's a free tool in the description that helps you become aware of what type of expectation or what type of decision you're making. Because if you're about to take a position and you see it there in the market and it doesn't really align with your trading plan, but you're pulled by greed because you now think that if that position's a win and you think that position's going to be a win, you're now going to get reputation in your, on your social media, or you have a fear of missing out on that reputation. It's because of that expectation that you've created in your mind in the virtual market that you're projecting onto the real market. You're now run by fear and greed, and you're probably going to take a position that isn't even in alignment with your trading plan. You're going to probably look back on that and ask, why on earth did I take that position? It's because of all that extra stuff that you attach to the funded account. It's because of that extra noise in your brain. So you have to be really acutely aware of the expectations you associate to funded accounts. And every time you take a position on it, you have to be acutely aware of what's your agenda from this particular trade. What do you think this trade is going to do or get you or give you? What expectations, what outcome do you think is going to be as a result of taking this position? And you have to ground all that outcome-based stuff, because ultimately the one question you want to be asking yourself is, does this align with my trading plan? Is this a process-based decision that I'm making? And the answer ultimately has to be yes before you take that position. It has to be in alignment with your trading plan. But you still have to ground the outcome-based expectations, because if you don't, and if that position's a loss, you're still going to be emotional. So the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool helps you become aware of your expectations prior to a trade. It helps you become aware of the reason why you're taking an individual position. Are you taking it because it's process-based and it's going to yield consistent profitability because it's part of your edge? Or are you taking it because you think that this is the position that's going to get you funded, or you think this is the position that's going to make you a certain amount of money, or you think this is the position that's going to get you reputation and self-worth? Because if you think, you create this idea in your mind that sounds really good and it's very pleasurable, and you try and force it onto the market that isn't ready to make that sort of trade, you're going to get humbled and you're going to be extremely emotional, and you're going to trade differently on that funded account than you are on your personal accounts. I hope that makes sense. But check out the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool. That tool is really a game changer. It's completely free. I don't know, I should probably maybe not leave it for free because people don't take it and appreciate it as much as they should. It's a very powerful tool on becoming aware of your expectations and what type of decision you're making. And ultimately, once you have your trading plan in place, it's all about managing fear and greed and managing your expectations. So you're actually sticking to that trading plan, and you're not deviating with variance from your trading plan because you think there's a fear there or there's a greed there. Okay? Now, mental model number 3, you have to treat trading like a business. Okay? I think because funded accounts become so accessible, all of a sudden people think that you shouldn't treat it like a business, or you should take it less seriously. That's probably why the funded accounts or the funded prop firm companies are doing so well financially, because they're making so much money off people who are gambling. So a little mental exercise that I give to some of my one-on-one clients. Instead of thinking about going for a funded account which has no accountability, if you lose it, nobody really knows necessarily. There's less accountability there, right? And if you lose it, there's not really any consequences. So instead of thinking about going for a funded account, think about it this way. How would you prepare, how would you structure your trading, how would you structure your mindset if you were taking $100,000 investment from a real investor, from someone who you knew personally and you had to answer to you had to show your results to? How would you prepare differently if you're doing it for a real investor versus a prop firm? This little mental exercise helps you really treat your trading like a business. What would you do? You'd probably have a clear mechanical trading plan that you guaranteed had an edge. You'd have to prove that to your investor before they even gave you that money. You would probably have mindset tools that would guide your decision making, and you'd have mindset tools to moderate your stress levels and moderate fear and greed so you're sticking to your trading plan. You would probably have that in place. And you would probably review your performance and review your trades and review if that trade was in alignment with your trading plan and your edge. And if it wasn't, you'd probably question and realize why that was the case and probably put things in place. In other words, you would probably treat your trading like a business if you had greater accountability on the line. So I encourage you, before you go for a funded account, ask yourself this question: how would I prepare, or how would I trade if this was someone's real money on the line? And that doesn't mean you're putting more pressure on yourself. That doesn't mean you have to do it this way. But what it's doing is it's making you aware of what types of things you would do if you had that accountability in the line. How would you structure? How would you prepare? What would you refine in your trading plan? What would you refine in your mindset? And then really treat it like the real thing. And then now that you have everything in place and you have all the holes and all the gaps covered in your trading plan and your mindset, now go for the funded account. Go for a trading funded account that is, something that's realistic for your strategy and something that you've already put the mindset tools in place. Now go for it and see how much better prepared you are because you're treating it like a business. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Hope this was insightful and it gave you some answers, some solutions to maybe some of the problems you're facing with your funded challenges of funded accounts. But if you like this, please like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Drop your comments below. Let me know the value you got from this. If you have any questions, let me know also. But if you resonate with this content, you really want to be checking out the free 7-day trial to the 12-week program. That program has all 12 steps to trading mindset mastery that I've learned, I've created, I've observed over the last 7 years of my journey and through my studies of human behavior and psychology, through working with many, many traders one-on-one and having hundreds of traders go through my programs as well. This really is the complete A to Z on trading mindset mastery and trading psychology. I haven't seen a better program out there. And if you're serious about mastering your trading mindset, you want to be checking out that program. But if you like this content, please also share it with your trading friends and get it out there so we can get more people focused on trading psychology. And thank you for watching to the end. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.